उसके लिए रोड मैप, उस रोड मैप पे चलने के लिए परिश्रम, रिस्क, नदी के विपरीत दिशा में तैरने का साहस, ये करना पड़ता है, तब नवाचार के रूप में सफलता मिलती है। और सचमुच में जब मैं नवाचार की बात करता हूं तो गूगल, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट, एप्पल, एडोब, आईबीएम, मास्टर कार्ड जैसी बहुराष्ट्रीय कंपनियों के ऑफिस में अगर आप देखेंगे तो केवल भारतीय नजर आएंगे। ये भारतीय मेधा और विश्वसनीयता है कि इन कंपनियों के डेवलपमेंट लैब से लेकर बोर्ड रूम तक भारतीय आसीन है। आज हमें गर्व होता सुंदर पिचई, सत्य नडेला, शांतनु नारायण, अरविंद कृष्णा, सुश्री लीना नायर, राज सुब्रमण्यम, सीएम बेक्टा कृष्णन, राजीव सूरी, इंदिरा नूई, अजय बांगा, कितने नाम हैं, कितने नाम जिन्होंने सफलता के नए इतिहास रचने का काम किया है। और मित्रों, इनोवेशन अकेला नहीं है, अगर आगे बढ़ना है तो टेक्नोलॉजी भी जरूरी है। और टेक्नोलॉजी की बात अगर मैं कहूं तो अगर डाली पे पक्षी बैठा है और डाली कमजोर है फिर भी वो डाली पर बैठा है तो इसलिए नहीं कि उसे डाली पर भरोसा है, बल्कि इसलिए कि उसे अपने पंखों पर भरोसा है। अपने ऊपर विश्वास, अपने ऊपर भरोसा। और मित्रों, आज टेक्नोलॉजी की अगर बात करें तो भारत के प्रवासी युवाओं ने इंजीनियरिंग और टेक्नोलॉजी के क्षेत्र में अपनी प्रतिभा के दम पर न केवल अपना लोहा मनवाया है, बल्कि कई स्थानों पर ऐसी स्थिति निर्मित हो गई है कि यदि भारतीय ना हो तो कंपनियों का काम ही ठप हो जाए। और इसलिए ये जो दोनों विषय हैं ये हमारे लिए महत्वपूर्ण है, न केवल देश की प्रगति और विकास के लिए बल्कि दुनिया को आगे बढ़ाने के लिए। और प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में भारत के युवा आज सर्वश्रेष्ठ देने का काम कर रहे हैं। खेलो इंडिया से लेके स्टार्टअप इंडिया तक, स्किल इंडिया से लेके मेक इन इंडिया तक, अटल टिंकरिंग लैब से लेकर 5G टेक्नोलॉजी तक हर क्षेत्र में भारतीय युवाओं ने अपनी प्रतिभा के बल पर नए रिकॉर्ड स्थापित किए। अभी अनुराग जी बता रहे थे 100 से अधिक स्टार्टअप को यूनिकॉर्न और 4 स्टार्टअप्स को डेकाकॉर्न बनाया। ये इंदौर, अकेले इंदौर में 1500 से ज्यादा स्टार्टअप्स यहाँ के नौजवानों ने प्रारंभ किए हैं। और मध्य प्रदेश के गांव-गांव से नौजवान निकल रहे हैं अपने इनोवेटिव आइडियाज लेके। लगातार जो बातें अनुराग जी ने कही मैं दोहराना नहीं चाहता, लगातार भारत आगे बढ़ रहा है और मध्य प्रदेश लगातार प्रयास कर रहा है। मैं आज गर्व के साथ बताना चाहता हूं, मध्य प्रदेश की विकास दर करंट प्राइजेज पे समय 19.76% है। हम लगातार आगे बढ़ रहे हैं इनोवेटिव आइडियाज को लेके। यूथ पॉलिसी मध्य प्रदेश अब हम नहीं बनाने वाले हैं अनेकों क्षेत्रों में, चाहे वो शिक्षा की गुणवत्ता हो, चाहे वो मध्य प्रदेश को स्किल करना हो। ग्लोबल स्किल पार्क मध्य प्रदेश पे बन रहा है। हमारे आइडियाज को हमने बेहतर करने का प्रयास किया है। एक नहीं, ऐसे अनेकों प्रयास मध्य प्रदेश में भी निरंतर जारी है। मैं एक बार फिर आप सबका मध्य प्रदेश की धरती पर हृदय से स्वागत करता हूं। और अनुराग जी ने कहा है सराफा जाना मत भूलना, लेकिन 56 दुकान भी जरूर जाना। अद्भुत है इंदौर और सचमुच में अद्भुत है मध्य प्रदेश। जन संपदा, जल संपदा, वन संपदा, खनिज संपदा, यहां महाकाल महालोक है। जाना, लेकिन शाम के समय जरूर जाना। रात में महाकाल महाराज की छटा अद्भुत होती है। यहां ओमकारेश्वर है, 2 ज्योतिर्लिंग, 3 वर्ल्ड हेरिटेज, 11 टाइगर पार्क है हमारे। और टाइगर पार्क भी ऐसे कि कई बार टाइगर से हैंडशेक करने की नौबत आ जाती है। मध्य प्रदेश टाइगर स्टेट है, मध्य प्रदेश लेपर्ड स्टेट है, मध्य प्रदेश बल्चर स्टेट है और अब तो मध्य प्रदेश चीता स्टेट भी बन गया है। इस मध्य प्रदेश में आपका स्वागत है। जब कोई इनोवेटिव आइडिया आए और आपको लगे कि मध्य प्रदेश में जमीन को उतारना है, तो मामा को याद कर लेना, आपका साथ देने में हम कोई कसर नहीं छोड़ेंगे। एक बार फिर आप सबका इस धरती पर हृदय से स्वागत है, अभिनंदन है। आप आए, मध्य प्रदेश धन्य हो गया। एक बार फिर मेरे साथ बोलिए, भारत माता की, भारत माता की। और अंत में केवल एक बात कह के, ये नहीं है, नहीं ये हाथ केवल हाथ मलने के लिए, तू इन्हें मुट्ठी बना दुनिया बदलने के लिए। भारत भी बदल रहा है, दुनिया भी हम बदलेंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद माननीय मुख्यमंत्री मध्य प्रदेश श्री शिवराज सिंह चौहान जी। हिंदुस्तान का दिल मध्य प्रदेश में आप इस वक्त हैं, सबसे स्वच्छ शहर भारत का इंदौर में। We feel privileged with the august presence of the Honourable Member of Parliament Australia, Ms. Janita Mascarenhas. May I request you, Madam, to kindly address us? जोरदार तालियों से स्वागत हमारी गेस्ट ऑफ ऑनर।
Namaste and Dhanyavad. I would like to acknowledge the External Affairs Minister, Dr. J. Shankar, for his invitation to present today. I feel very privileged to be here. I acknowledge the Honourable Shri Shivraj Singh Chauhan, Chief Minister, Madhya Pradesh, for hosting us in this beautiful state. I'd like to thank the Minister for Youth Affairs, the Anurag Singh Thakur. I thank him for the opportunity to be here to address the youth plenary session. And to His Excellency, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, it is a great honour to be back here in incredible India. Australia's relationship has never been closer. The Indian community is our fastest growing diaspora, and our nations have shared interests, challenges, perspectives, and a strong belief in democracy. I know that my Australian Prime Minister, the Honourable Anthony Albanese, is looking forward to visiting India later this year. India, for me, is a kaleidoscope of colours, culture and senses. I was 15 years old when I first travelled to India. Honestly, I felt trepidatious and was unsure what to expect. There were several impressions that India gave me. The first, my extended family had so much love to give, even though I lived overseas. We are close, and my Indian cousin Noel has travelled to join me here. My dad has an incredible work ethic, but then I understood that this is a shared trait of my whole extended family, but really the Indian diaspora. There is so much vibrancy and colour here, whether that be the clothes we wear or the food we eat. Finally, I remember the kindness strangers gave me just because of my grandmother's reputation, Felicidad, as a kind and giving woman. India is a diverse country. The sleepy backwaters of Kerala represent an aquatic paradise. The desert skies of Gujarat offer glittering star-spangled skies. Or here in Indore, the street food here is a flavour sensation, as I learnt last night. And for me as a Goan, it's famous for its New Year Eve parties, but for Goans, we start the new year by going to midnight mass. India's diversity is what makes this country seem like it's contradictory, but rather I like to think of it as a country that has duality, two opposite parts that coexist. I think it's this duality that helps the Indian diaspora be so successful. Mixing old ideas is not new or unfamiliar concept to India. India is arguably one of the most successful nations who practices ancient religions while embracing new technologies and boasting cities like Bengaluru and its own thriving movie industry. Duality happens on a national level, but I think it happens on an individual level too. Minister Thakur showed this by speaking in both Hindi and English seamlessly. As we, the Indian diaspora, seek to do great things around the world, we fall in love with other countries and create new lives and worlds for our family. We then get to blend the best aspects of Indian culture with the best aspects of another country, and essentially we create a third culture. Following this, I'd like to talk about some members of the Australian Indian diaspora who are at the forefront of innovation and new technologies. AJ Prakash had the vision to empower 1 billion people to discover meaningful work through his education startup called Entry Level. He is one of Australia's top 100 innovators and is a Forbes Under 30 entrepreneur. AJ's platform delivers short, intensive, affordable programs with professional mentors from companies including Atlassian, Wise and StartMate. Recognising that almost 200 million jobs were lost during 2020, largely due to COVID, AJ wanted to think about ways to reskill people. AJ's ambitious goal is to prevent mass unemployment by 2030. The thing that I find particularly refreshing about AJ is that he openly talks about failing. Culturally, this is something that I think many of us would struggle with. However, smart entrepreneurial culture has taught me that it's smart to fail fast and fail small to crack open the next innovation. Then there's Veena Shawajala, who's a material scientist, engineer and inventor. She's the recipient of the Pravasi Bharataya Samman. She is passionate about waste. She was talking about green steel production before it was cool. She thought that it would be smart to use end-of-life tyres to replace coal and coke in steel making. The Pulitzer Prize-winning author Charles Duhigg told us that innovation happens by mixing old ideas in new ways. Well, Veena was literally doing this by diverting almost 200 million tyres from landfill and then using them in the furnace during steel production. This reduces costs and reduces greenhouse gas emissions. Talking about net zero emissions, that's quite an accepted term worldwide. In time, we will talk about net zero waste, aka the circular economy. So for manufacturers in the audience, I ask, can your products be repaired, or even better, can they be upgraded or retrofitted? And once your product reaches the end of its life, can it be recycled or repurposed? The final person I'll talk about is an engineer from Australia who has worked in climate change for the last 12 years. Her dad, Jose, an Indian metalworker, wanted to migrate from Kenya to Australia. Australia had a skills shortage. However, the Australian embassy explained to Jose that he had the right skills but had the wrong colour skin. Back then, the White Australia policy existed. Eventually, successive Australian governments dismantled this policy and Jose migrated to Australia with his wife and daughter. They lived in a multicultural mining town called Kambalda, where all cultures were celebrated. His youngest daughter was born in Australia and studied engineering and worked on the mines. She had a passionate and worked in climate change action for 12 years. She helped large companies reduce their carbon footprint. She loved her work and became the team leader. The policy environment was tough. In Western Australia, there are currently floods in the north, while in the south there are bushfire warnings. I am sure that we would all agree that climate change is wreaking havoc across the world. Action by the Parliament was required. She was asked if she would run in the federal election to become a Member of Parliament. She was a mum of a 2- and a 5-year-old. Federal politicians in Australia are required to be in Canberra, the capital, for almost half the year. The person I describe above is me. This is where I will share that my husband is my biggest supporter. He believed that I could win and make a positive difference in Australia. But equally, he was not daunted on needing to lead parent alone for half the year. Having a supportive partner is invaluable. When deciding on whether to run or not, I reflected on my family's history and recognised that politics can be personal, powerful and transformative. My Australian story would not be possible if it wasn't for the Australian government wanting to become the world's most successful multicultural nation. And in the end, I decided to do what mattered. Last year, Australia voted to change the government. So how on earth did I get elected up? Well, we all know that Indians in the Indian diaspora have a tremendous work ethic. And as the Minister explained before, we have an unflinching spirit. My team and I knocked on 45,000 doors. For the first time in 5 terms, I won the seat of Swan. I became the first woman and the first person of colour to be elected to that seat in its 101 history. I can't tell you why I definitively won. One strong factor is the character of the new Australian Prime Minister, Anthony Albanese. Authentic leadership matters. But I also think that my electorate wanted to have more diversity in Parliament, not just gender or ethnic background, but my skill set too. My electorate loved that I am a working mum and engineer. I want to leave you with this thought. The Indian diaspora combines 2 cultures to create a 3rd culture with the best of both worlds. I encourage you to do what matters. And going further, you should think about your legacy. I reflect on my grandmother's, Felicidad's, tremendous legacy. She passed away 29 years ago yesterday, and even though I never met her, her presence was always felt strongly, long after she left our earth. So I'd like to ask you, what will your legacy be?
थैंक यू सो मच मैडम, थैंक यू सो मच। बाहरी देशों या विश्व के किसी बड़े मंच पर हमारे भारत देश के बारे में पेचीदा सवालों के सटीक तथा निरुत्तर कर देने वाले जवाब यदि आप सुने तो बेशक वो आवाज़ हमारे विदेश मंत्री अनन्य राष्ट्रभक्त माननीय डॉक्टर एस जयशंकर जी की ही होती है, जो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी की विजनरी लीडरशिप में सफल विदेश नीति को अंजाम दे रहे हैं। May I request Honorable External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar ji to kindly address us and show us the way forward.
Respected Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Sri Shivraj Chauhan Singh ji, Honorable Minister of Youth Affairs and Sports, Sri Anurag Singh Thakur ji, Guest of Honour, Ms. Zaneta Mascarenhas, Member of Parliament, Australia, my ministerial colleagues in the Foreign Ministry, Sri Muralidharan ji, Srimati Meenakshi Lekhi ji, Dr. Ranjan ji, Minister of State for Youth Affairs, Shri Nishit Pramanik ji, Ministers of the Madhya Pradesh government, Secretary Asif Syed, who deals with diaspora affairs, Secretary Meeta Rajiv Lochan, friends, my youthful delegates from India and abroad. Let me first of all extend my warmest greetings to all of you. My welcome at the first event of the 17th Pravasi Bharatiya Divas Convention, which is the Youth Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. We all know why we are here. We are here because in the I would say memorable words of the Prime Minister at a legendary diaspora event, he said that हमारा तो खून का रिश्ता है, passport का नहीं. And that one phrase, I think, captures the entire complexity of a relationship that we have today with 34 million people of Indian origin and non-resident Indians abroad. And that is what brings us here every 2 years for this convention. So even as we meet here, there are many who are not here with us today, but who are watching it, who will take heart from what we are doing, who will be enthused by the renewal of this relationship. And so that is a larger emotion which will definitely be in all our minds over the next 3 days. We are also gathered here as India marks 75 years of independence and prepares for the next 25 years ahead. This is an era where we are increasingly confident about our prospects, and when we seek to connect more closely with the Indian community, with the international community. And that is why I'm particularly glad to see that the guest of honor today is from our Quad partner, our Indo-Pacific partner, Australia. Today's session is devoted to assessing the progress in connecting with the diaspora, and obviously with a special focus on the role and contribution of the youth. Now, before I come to the subject, I think I would be remiss if I did not thank the Honorable Chief Minister, Shivraj Ji, and the government of Madhya Pradesh, his whole team, because people have spoken about Indore as the cleanest city. I think all of you already know it is the city with the largest heart, the warmest feeling, the greatest hospitality. And I have not yet been to Sarafa Bazaar, but I went to Chappan Dukan yesterday. And I think I met some of you out there yesterday night. So those of you who haven't been there, I can vouch for it. So please make it a point definitely to go there. Now you all know that India has the largest diaspora in the world, and many would say the most talented. But what is perhaps unique about us is the intensity of the bonding between the community abroad and the motherland. And that is a two-way street which is promoted particularly by activities like the Pravasi Bharatiya Divas. This relationship was very much in evidence amidst the challenges of the COVID pandemic. On its part, the Government of India undertook the Vande Bharat mission and the Vaccine Maitri initiative, which were focused significantly on our diaspora-centered partners. We recognize too the tremendous response that we got from the PIO NRI community during the most difficult moments of our own COVID experience. So as we meet today, I can truly say that our bonds have become even stronger as a result of all the trials and tribulations that we went through during the COVID period. Now, those of you who are coming to India after a gap would surely notice the many changes that have taken place, I would say in the last 8 years, but especially in the last 3 years. Notable among them is the extraordinary scale of digital delivery that has made possible access to social benefits, and that too without leakage. Equally evident is the improved health infrastructure, and indeed the greater awareness and expectations on that score. You would also see enormous infrastructure activity. In fact, as you come in from the airport, you can see the construction which is going on. And these are propelled by the Prime Minister's Gati Shakti initiative. but most of all, you would sense the optimism in our society and the highlighting of the role of the youth. Whether it is startups or sports, whether it is technology usage or tourism, the energies of young India are increasingly visible. This is what has led us to define the theme for this year's Youth PBD. The younger generations are also very much in the forefront of connecting India to the world. They do so not only through their activities at home, but by studying, working, and traveling abroad. Our endeavor is therefore to maximize support for them and to ensure that they realize the benefits and achievements that are due to them. We strive to create a better workplace, a more secure traveling experience, and a non-discriminatory treatment abroad. It could take the form of migration and mobility partnerships, as we have done recently with Germany, Denmark, Portugal, France, and UK, just to give you some examples, or a working holiday program, as we have just signed with Austria, or the more liberal working conditions that have been extended by the Australian government, or for that matter, more predictable and liberal visa and work provisions in some other nations. It may be the services and support provided by the Indian Community Welfare Fund, or even something as simple but as important as the swift replacement of a lost passport, and the more efficient rendering of consular services. The redressal of grievances in a transparent manner through online mechanisms like Madad is by now well established. The biggest difference, however, is the higher standing of India and the stronger relationship that we have established with virtually every nation that hosts our community. This is reflected in your stature and standing in these societies. The identity of a diaspora is very much derived from how closely it is connected to its roots. Here too, our efforts have been to encourage easier exposure to Indian culture and traditions abroad. Many of our embassies, in fact I think most of them today, now offer yoga, dance and music classes. We ask them also to support and facilitate community functions and collective activities. It is a matter of pride for us that centers of faith are growing abroad. And I think the one in Abu Dhabi has attracted particular attention. That centers of faith are going abroad because they also serve to inculcate values, promote culture, and nurture traditions. The youth living abroad today therefore has many more opportunities than before to stay connected. Having said that, we believe that this is never enough by itself. There is always room for improvement in schemes like the Know India program that we intend to expand, the Bharat Ko Janiye quiz, and the scholarship program for diaspora children. It is also our expectation that the new education policy will create more pathways for a deeper involvement of the diaspora, and you will be hearing from my colleague Sri Dharmendra Pradhan ji about this in the coming days. Within the country, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has urged us all to focus on the Amrit Kal, the period leading up to a century of independence. It is important that the Indian community abroad also does the same. They would be justified in asking themselves, how can they make a difference to India's future? In the past, the answers may have been more in the realm of resources and opportunities. Today, it is in the era of a knowledge economy. It is much more in a world of technology, of ideas, and of innovation. So my message to you today is that India is changing in front of our eyes, and at a pace and manner that is unprecedented. We have a leadership that is providing both the vision and the guidance to emerge as a leading power in the days ahead. I'm very confident that the Indian youth at home and abroad will take up the challenge and help to propel this country to greater heights. Thank you, and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir, for your very insightful and inspiring speech. Thank you so much. May I now call upon Ms. Meeta Rajiv Lochan, Secretary, Department of Youth Affairs, to kindly propose vote of thanks. कृपया आभार प्रकट करें.
Friends, first of all, I would like to thank Honorable Chief Minister Madhya Pradesh, Shivraj Singh Chauhan ji, for hosting the Yuva Pravasi Bharatiya Divas in such a very wonderful way. He is a most dynamic Chief Minister. We only have to go out on the streets of Indore to see the impact of the work done by him and his team. Thank you, sir, for making this such a memorable event and for making everyone here feel so welcome and so comfortable in the highest traditions of Indian hospitality. Next, I would like to thank Honorable Union Affairs Minister for Youth Affairs and Sports, Anurag Singh Thakur sir, for his constant guidance and support. Sir's dynamism and energy is very visible in the way that the landscape of youth affairs and sports in India has changed. If Indian athletes have received so many accolades and have won so many prizes in the recent past, that has everything to do with his energy and his constant guidance and support. Thank you, sir. It is an absolute honor, friends, today to have with us Honorable External Affairs Minister Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar. Dr. Jaishankar has changed the narrative of Indian foreign policy. If countries across the world look up to India today, that has everything to do with him. We as Indians feel so proud, sir, when we hear you speak, and it is wonderful to have you with us today. All those present would benefit from your enormous experience and wisdom. Very grateful thanks to you. I would also like to thank Honorable Minister of State, Shri Nishit Pramanik ji, for his guidance and support. Thank you to Ms. Zaneta Mascarenhas, Member of Parliament from Australia, for coming here and being with us and sharing her experiences on this occasion. Thank you, Madam. I would also like to thank Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, Dr. Asaf Saeed, and the entire contingent of the MEA for helping us to organize this function. Thank you.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सचिव महोदया. Thank you so much, all the dignitaries, esteemed dignitaries on the dais. आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद पधारने के लिए. Thank you, Honorable Ms. Janeta Mascarenhas and Honorable External Affairs Minister and all the dignitaries on the dais, Shri Anurag Singh Thakur ji, माननीय मुख्यमंत्री जी, सबका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद पधारने के लिए. और आप सभी से